Hello there and welcome to the Mindfulness Zone. My name is Vinod Ravindranathan and I'd like to welcome you to a series of meditations and reflections which I hope will help you to step outside of your thought process. That thinking mind that never stops moving, chatting. Today I'm going to lead you through a very simple meditation. What we're here to do is to step outside of our thought process, to step outside of our thinking, our worries, our anxieties, and just breathe a sigh of relief. And my words are going to guide you to certain tools some of which you'll find useful to bring you into this present moment outside of the thought stream. And some words you may just wish to disregard, because you already know how to be present. But whether or not you listen to my words, the greatest gift about today, about this practice, is our ability to sit at the same time together and tap into this space that we call the now, this present moment, which we all share, that we all have in common. And let's begin by just noticing our bodies and making sure that we are comfortable. So check how you're sitting. Do you think you can sustain this for a few minutes? Is it comfortable? Is your back being supported in the right way? Your neck, your shoulders, your legs. And as we do this, we begin to have an image of what our bodies look like. And now let's seek out what our bodies are experiencing. As it rests upon the surface underneath. You might be on a cushion, a chair, a mattress. Some of you may even be lying down, and that's absolutely fine. But just examining those points of contact between the body and the surface underneath and behind. And then becoming aware of the temperature of the room that you're finding yourself in. We remind ourselves that in this practice, each one of us is going to experience something very unique because we're all located in different spaces, different places. We're all seated on different surfaces. We have different sounds around us. The beauty of practicing through the internet. And as unique as our experience is, equally unique we are as individuals. And in this practice, we celebrate this uniqueness. And we celebrate the uniqueness of our own little spaces. Most of you are within familiar surroundings, your homes or the homes of family members or someone you know quite well. And so there are many memories, there are many images of conversations, there are many errands, many chores that have been done and still need to be done. But let's give ourselves a break from all of that. Not for the whole of today, but just for this hour that we have together. And let us arrive at this particular spot that we find ourselves in. Before your computer, in front of your computer, in front of your tablet, in front of your phone. If you like, you can quickly take a little bit of a glance around you just to notice where you are. Where you are is in a particular spot within your homes, within your familiar environments. And so what we're doing is we're going to create a little bubble around us that makes this our new private space just for this time we have together, which is free of all those chores, free of all those memories, so that we can just be a bit lighter, carrying less baggage, and just be free to be present at this point in time that we call the now, the only moment that ever exists. I know that many of you are quite new to practicing with me. And so I'll just repeat some of the things that I often talk about when beginning a practice such as this. This practice is about embracing this moment in its entirety, just making peace with where we find ourselves at this moment. What have you been feeling? What do you feel right now? Is there anything about this present moment that you would like to be different? And if there is, this is a beautiful indicator that we may not completely be aligned with this moment, especially with the events over the past few weeks, where most of us were attending to our jobs. We were walking into supermarkets quite casually. We were going to the cinema and the theater and using gymnasiums, going swimming. It's very natural that many of us are holding on to those memories, those images of what things used to be like a few weeks ago. And very often you'll find yourself resisting this present moment, not because you dislike anything about this moment, but because you want to go back into that point in the past. You want to go back to that time when you didn't have to queue up at the supermarket, when people were not panic buying, when you could use your gymnasium, when you could be physically with your friends, your relatives, your family. And so you want to rewind. You want to go back into that 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. And one consequence of that is that we unconsciously resist this present moment, this very moment, which is unfolding before us. And again, many of us, we have been blessed with the internet, which has given us this opportunity to practice together, but many of us have also been reading news feeds, the constant news bulletins, the social media messages that come in through Facebook, WhatsApp, and whatever else. Some of them are funny, but many of them are very worrying. They paint very bleak pictures about the economy, about the consequences of carrying this virus and its symptoms. And then we find ourselves projecting our thoughts. Our thoughts begin to overtake this present moment and jump into the future, where it begins to think of catastrophic events, poor economies, and much worse, our job securities. It's endless. The thoughts, the paintings, the images that have been painted by the media, they are endless. But here today, as we sit together practicing, we're here to remind ourselves that many of these events are just worst case scenarios, projections by a media that is selling more papers and more advertisement than ever before, because of the number of people watching the news. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to use the tools that I speak of to step outside of this stream, which seems to be moving at tremendous speed from that past which we want to go back to, into a future that we are very fearful about, both of which are not relevant anymore. If in this present moment, at least, it's not relevant. We've just been telling stories. And so now we step outside of the storytelling mode into this moment where there is stillness, where there is much more wisdom, and where there is so much more kindness. And let's begin with one of those tools that we have, our breath. And so a moment ago, we were shining the spotlight on the past. We were giving our attention to the numerous possibilities in the future. And now we're going to step outside of that stream and enter into this present moment where you're seated here in your private space, in front of your computer, in front of your tablet or phone, listening to my voice, with access to the internet, with access to so many like-minded people. As you can see, we're practicing in a group together, which is something very fortunate. We've all come together to simply be. And right now at this moment, things no longer seem that bleak, do they? We have our bodies, we have our hearing. That's all we need. And we have our breath. And so we begin to become more conscious of our breathing. We let go of the need to think about our breath. And this simply means we tune into the sensations that we can experience. First, as the air flows in. Can you feel how smoothly it flows in? Can you notice how it brushes against the walls of the nasal passage as it inches its way upward, deeper and higher into the nasal passage? Can you sense the temperature of the air and perhaps the scent of whatever it is your room smells like? Perhaps it might be some faint smell of some food or incense or some perfume. And now the out breath, tuning into the breath as it flows downward and outward. Its temperature, which is quite different from the breath that went in. Its humidity level, the flow of air as it brushes through the tiny hairs at the tips of the nostrils, as it bathes the upper lip with its very subtle movements. And just breathing as comfortably as you know so well how to, releasing the need to control. With your ability to tune into each breath growing. At this point, it might be nice to remind ourselves that it doesn't matter if your mind wanders away. It doesn't matter if your mind wandered away during the last breath or the last 10 breaths. Because in this practice, the only breath that only ever matters is the breath that is unfolding right now at this moment. And it might be that flow that's either moving inward or outward. And for some of us, the mind might be wandering simply because the mind plays this little game where it says, I'm going to focus on the next breath so I can let this one go. It doesn't matter. I'd like to focus on the next one or the one after that. I can wait. But again, we remind ourselves that in this practice, we don't care about the next breath, the next 10 breaths, the next 100 breaths. There's only one breath that we're interested in, curious about. And that is the breath that is unfolding right now at this moment. Every intake of breath that you can experience, every in-breath becomes the first breath in this practice. It's not the second or the third breath, it's the first breath. Because every moment becomes a new beginning, a new start, a new birth. And every outtake of breath, every exhalation becomes a complete releasing and a letting go. And what are you left with? This moment, this breath, unfolding right now. What would you like to release? We spoke a moment ago about wanting things to return to the way they were. Let's release the past. Let's release that image, that desire, that hope, so that we can more fully experience this moment. It has been a wonderful opportunity for us to simply step outside of doing and into being. And so we be with the breath right now. As we exhale and as we breathe out, let us breathe out our identities. Let's release our identities. We don't need that right now. No, we don't. We're just sitting here practicing together, experiencing this moment that we call the now. So our names, let's shelf that. Let's release that. And all the baggage that comes with our names and our identities. Let's release our financial worries, our financial situation. We don't need that right now. We're just seated here before our computers. We're being present. We don't need that. So as we exhale, we let go of bank balances and all of that. What else comes from the past? Our jobs, our positions that we've defined ourselves through. Whatever your profession, whatever your situation in life, whether or not you're working, those labels that we've attached to ourselves, we exhale and we let go of that. You might even feel yourself becoming lighter and lighter and lighter as you release this baggage. And now we breathe in again, breathe in newness, a new beginning, a new start. What else would we like to release and let go? Let's release our gender, whatever it is you identify as. Let's release our gender, because even that carries with it a lot of baggage from the day we were born, being asked to wear blue or pink or behave in certain ways. And so we release that as we exhale. Our sexual identity, however you identify as, again, releasing, let go. And bring yourself back to the breath entering in through your nostrils right now. Tuning into this breath, which represents this new birth and this new beginning, this opportunity to start afresh. And I don't know, we've been focusing on our breath. We've been using a very natural pace of breathing. For some of us, this might be a good day. It might be very easy to align with the breath, step outside of the thoughts. But for most of us, you may still find yourself being carried away by the mind's momentum, the thought process. And so we enhance our breathing practice by changing the pace of our breathing. Not too significantly, but from this point, breathing in as deeply as you can. Continuing to tune into the sensations of the breath, but this time noticing how your chest rises, how your stomach wall rises as you take in more and more and more air. And then pausing very briefly as you reach your capacity, noticing what it feels like. And then as slowly and as gently as you can, releasing and letting go of your breath. But very slowly, noticing how different this experience feels from within the nostrils, how different it feels through as the air flows through the exits of the nostrils. The chest wall falling, the stomach wall falling as you exhale. And you will notice your mind anchoring itself deeper and deeper into the breath, grounding yourselves into this moment, perhaps even more than you've ever experienced this moment. In a moment, you're going to hear the sound of the bell, and this bell will bring this part of the practice, hopefully to a very gentle and mindful close. But before you leave, I would like to remind you that in a practice such as this, there never really is a final bell. The world will continue to unfold before us. Every experience giving us an opportunity to experience, not through our minds, but through our state of presence and awareness, where the kindness is, where the compassion is, where the understanding is, where the patience lies, and where there is less judgment of ourselves and those around us. I really hope you enjoyed this practice with me, and if you did, please visit www.mindfulness.zone. That's www.mindfulness.zone for more recordings like this, and perhaps an opportunity to join me in one of my live online mindfulness meditation practices.